Good morning. I just took a shower in the creek, so I feel nice and clean, and I'm going to clean my van right now. This is a little tea tree oil serum I have, and I put it on sometimes. And it goes up there. So something that I do basically every single day, sometimes I miss it, but try to stick to this, is my bullet journal. So every single month I kind of have different things that I need to work on in the bullet journal, and it's basically structured the same way every month. I have the overall calendar where I have nice burp. But I have the overall calendar each month where I just write down little memories, or I write down to-do lists that I can check off. So my to-do list for this morning was workout, which I did before I showered, meditate, we did that, and then we need to go to Walmart and I want to edit a video. This month I'm really focusing on affirmations, but like this page changes with every month. So last month it was gratitude, and every single day I'd write down one thing I'm grateful for. This month I'll write down one affirmation every single day. And then I have my habit tracker where I track like goals every single day that I have, and I cross off the ones that I've done. So my goals for this month are eating whole food plant-based, to move my body every single day, that just means working out, to read, to do Italian, and to floss. And then I track the interval in which I eat. So I'm currently reading this book called On Writing Well, and it's all about writing, as you could assume. I also read a book before this by Stephen King called On Writing, which was really interesting, and it's really inspired and re-sparked this passion for writing that I've always had. I always loved writing as a child and would write little stories about things, but it really helps to kind of know that there is a structure and a way to do things, and it helps to get advice from really talented writers. So after reading this book and the last book, I started feeling really inspired to write. So I wrote a little short story about my childhood dog that I thought I would just read you guys. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to share this and put it out into the void. During springtime in Texas, the bluebonnet flowers bloom. Their bright blue petals pepper the green hills as you drive around the state. But the flowers are even more abundant at my dad's ranch. Specifically, the road from my dad's ranch house to the pond. The flowers are everywhere on that trail. Like weeds, they nestle themselves in every inch of livable soil. Unlike weeds, they're actually quite beautiful, and we do our best to preserve them by walking the trail instead of driving it. If we drive the trail, we end up trampling over all the bluebonnets. What's left is a bluebonnet massacre, and no one wants that. But there are many things that happen that we don't want to. High up on that list is a pet dog dying. After all, the famous Marley and Me quote goes, "A dog doesn't care for fancy cars, big homes, or designer clothes. A waterlogged stick will do just fine. A dog doesn't care if you're rich or poor, clever or dull, smart or dumb. Give him your heart and he'll give you his." How many people can you say that about? How many people can make you feel rare and pure and special? How many people can make you feel extraordinary? And isn't that the truth? Anyone who's ever had a dog knows that their unconditional love is unmatched by any humans. I don't care if you're Gandhi, the Buddha, or even Mother Teresa. You just can't love the way a dog can. It's a universal truth, a rule that has been etched into the fundamental laws of nature. I know this law because of my first dog, a little white Bichon Frise named Coco. My parents got Coco when I was about 7 years old. It's the age when you're old enough to wrap your mind around the idea of love, but young enough that you lock your dog in the closet to talk to him. And that's exactly what I did. Coco followed me eagerly and innocently into the closet, and for the next 15 minutes I began the artful game of interrogation. I began as any good interrogator does, strong and firm. I stared deeply into his beady little eyes. "I know you can speak English, Coco." He stared back blankly, clearly a ploy to play innocent with me. "I promise I'm not going to tell Mom and Dad. It can be our secret." More blank stares from Coco. Maybe he saw me tattle on my little sister last week. "Okay, let's try this. If you can speak English, just blink your eyes." Coco looked up at me, and within seconds, he blinked. Was it a coincidence? Definitely not. That was clear confirmation for my 7-year-old self. Coco could speak English. Over the following years, Coco became my confidant. I'd tell him about the girls who made fun of my Chinese candies at school and cry to him after my mom would spank me. "Why doesn't she understand how much it hurts, Coco?" I'd sob into his white fur and he'd kiss the tears rolling down my face. He was a great listener and he was always on my side. He was my best friend. That is, until I met Allie Herman when I was in the 6th grade. Allie quickly replaced Coco. I talked to her about everything, and as I grew closer to Allie, I grew apart from Coco. I stopped talking to him the way I used to, and that was fine because I learned that Coco couldn't speak English anyways. Allie and I stayed close through all of middle school. We even entered the foreign territory of high school together, and unlike most freshmen, we felt unstoppable. It was us against the world. It was that confidence that landed us cute boyfriends our freshman year. Within months, we were convinced they were our future husbands. We even planned a spring break trip to the beach with them. It was during that trip that I rescued Charlie, a white puppy with a brown patch of fur between her eyes. I fell in love with her, and after the trip, brought her home to my family. And I don't want to say that Charlie replaced Coco in my family's household, but like any puppy, she demanded attention. Coco was placed on the back burner, always an afterthought to Charlie, and even more so to the high school drama that now congested my life. Coco didn't mind, though. He was always happy to see me. Coco aged alongside me as I finished high school, entered college, and even when I dropped out of college 2 years in. He grew a small tumor on his head as I got my first full-time job at a therapy center for autistic kids. His cataract eyes became cloudier as I bought a big white transit van, and he progressively struggled to walk as I started renovating it into a camper van. One weekend, though, as I prepared to meet my dad at the ranch to work on my van, he told me he was with Coco. He was going to put him down. Coco was old now and suffering. In fact, he hadn't eaten in days, but I knew what my dad meant when he said he was going to put Coco down. He was going to shoot him, and it seemed too gruesome an ending for my childhood best friend. My mom agreed with me. "Why can't we just bring Coco to the vet and have them put him down?" she asked. But if it was up to my mom, she'd postpone making a decision until Coco died naturally. And so, as we watched Coco suffer, my dad made the decision for the family. But really, he made the decision for Coco. And I guess that's the difficult thing about putting a dog down. They can't tell us what they want. They can't speak English as much as my 7-year-old self would like to think so. It was springtime when Coco died, and bluebonnets decorated the sides of the highway as I drove to the ranch. I can't remember what I was thinking as I drove. In fact, I don't think I was thinking at all. My mind was empty, but my heart, that was full. Full of love, nostalgia, regret, and grief. When I got to the ranch, I immediately collapsed beside Coco, and for the first time since I was a kid, I talked to him. I cried with him. I held him. I was a kid again, and he was my best friend, and I wasn't too cool to talk to my dog. Quite the opposite. He was too cool to talk to me. Maybe that's why he never did. My dad drove Coco to the pond on the Bluebonnet Trail, squishing thousands of flowers under his truck. When we arrived to the pond, the entire trail was filled with blue petals, their colors still vibrant and remnant of their recent death. Coco sat in the front seat, confused and yet trusting of us. After all, we were his family, and he was ours. My dad got out of the truck and dug a hole in the ground. I stayed in the car with Coco and delivered a broken goodbye speech between unrelenting sobs. Not long after, my dad came back to the truck and picked Coco up. "It's time to go to bed," he said as he carried Coco to the hole he dug. Coco looked up at my dad from the hole. He looked at my dad with trust and with love, even as my dad brought the rifle to his head. And just like that, a loud bang from the gun signified Coco's death. He fell limp into the hole, and my dad buried his body in dirt. Afterwards, my dad and I drove back to the house in silence. The silence was so uncomfortable that it was practically begging me to break it. "Did you even cry?" I asked. My dad didn't respond. My dad was silent several hours after we got back to the house, but eventually he spoke. He told me he had been praying to God about this. What did Coco want? "I didn't receive an answer until today," my dad said. "You see, there's a moment after an animal dies when the nervous system is still alive, and sometimes the dead body will twitch. After Coco died, it was his tail that twitched. He literally wagged his tail in his own grave, and I don't know, I think that was Coco telling us he's happy. That's what he wanted." A tear ran down my dad's face and onto the ground, and it was in that moment, as I watched my father cry for the first time, that I realized the power of unconditional love. The power of a dog's love, a child's love, a mother's love. It is truly a glimpse of God, something holy and divine, something that we cannot consciously comprehend, but we know it when we feel it, and we know it when it's gone too.